I've been covering the Ted Cruz re-election campaign in Texas. Ted Cruz is one of the most vile, disgusting, ideological right-wing members of the United States Senate right now. He's up for re-election. 1/3 of all senators are up for re-election every 2 years. And he actually has a real challenger on his hands. Even though it's Texas, even though he's the incumbent, Beto O'Rourke has won the Democratic primary and is doing very, very well. I've told you that O'Rourke, in some fundraising periods, in some months, has out-fundraised Ted Cruz, which is massive. I've told you that some polls have the race as a statistical dead heat, even though, yes, as we get closer to Election Day, it's likely that undecideds will break more towards Cruz than to the challenger, particularly because Texas has more registered Republicans than Democrats. But it's not looking good for Ted Cruz, and Republican donors, as I told you last week, have started to divert money, I guess would be a better way to say it. Once you donate it, you've donated it, but they're diverting money they would have otherwise donated to Republicans in other states to help Ted Cruz win re-election in Texas. That's all great news for Beto O'Rourke and bad news for Republicans. The latest is now a sign of total, complete desperation. Ted Cruz, we learned this morning, is now mailing out donation requests that look like legal summonses, and we're going to show these to our video and television audience. They send out these brown envelopes that say on the outside, summons enclosed, open immediately. The return address says official county summons. So people get this in the mail and they think, oh, I'm being called to court in some kind of trial, something serious is going on. And you open this envelope, and it's not a legal summons. It's a letter from Ted Cruz asking for money. Question 1, is this legal? It does appear to be legal. It doesn't seem that this is illegal, as long as somewhere on the mailing it does identify that this is a piece of mail paid for by the committee to re-elect Ted Cruz, the campaign to re-elect Ted Cruz. Number 2, this is completely deceptive, and it is a sign of complete and total desperation, because if you are so desperate to get people to send you money, if it's going so poorly that you're sending pieces of mail implying that the recipient might be due in court for some kind of legal proceeding, you are extraordinarily desperate. But then here's the really sick part of all this. Some people are getting this, and they are actually thinking they do have to send a check. So like layer 1 would be, you send something labeled as a legal summons, but people open it, and it's abundantly clear to everybody that, oh, it's a letter from Ted Cruz. There are people who are receiving this letter, including the elderly, who see it and they get confused because the envelope does look official, and they open it and they think that if they don't send the check, they are breaking the law in some way. Again, not illegal as long as it is labeled somewhere as a piece of campaign mail, but people are actually sending checks under this pretense. I would love it if someone sent Ted Cruz an envelope which was labeled campaign donation, but was actually a legal summons, although I don't know that we're going to be seeing that anytime soon. Not Ted Cruz's first time doing this. Back in 2016, you might remember Ted Cruz ran for president, and he would send out donation solicitations that would say voting violation in huge red font. And we know why Ted Cruz is desperate. We know why he was desperate back in 2016, because he was losing. And we know why he's desperate now, because Beto O'Rourke has matched him almost dollar for dollar, right around $23 million in total fundraising. The notable difference being that Ted Cruz has raised about $23 million accepting money from PACs and corporations, whereas Beto O'Rourke has raised almost the exact same amount of money without accepting money from PACs and corporations. The best possible reaction to this news about the deception from Ted Cruz is that a lot of people hear about it and decide to throw $25 to Beto O'Rourke. This is a key race. If you have races local to you that you can work on, by all means work on them. But if you are in what is truly a safe district, if you have no interesting election happening where you live, consider phone banking for Beto O'Rourke, consider a financial contribution to Beto O'Rourke, because if we could knock out what is arguably the guy who is arguably one of the most extreme right-wingers in the Senate and replace him with an understandably, admittedly, somewhat moderate Democrat, it would be a massive, massive blow to the Republican Party. Please make sure to follow The David Pakman Show on Instagram at David Pakman Show, behind-the-scenes pictures, including, by the way, there's a really great picture on The David Pakman Show Instagram at David Pakman Show right now of the shot. It's a shot from behind the camera showing my entire remote setup while I've been working on this project in Paris, France, which, by the way, ends this week, and I'll be back in the studio at the end of the week. We've got a behind-the-scenes picture posted, and if you're following at David Pakman Show, you might as well follow at david.pakman, my personal account, pictures from the trip, and much more. We will take a break. Next, we will deal with flat Earth conspiracy theories. I am thrilled to tell you that today's episode is sponsored in part by Blinkist.com/Pakman. Blinkist is a really unique service for your phone, tablet, and web browser, and it is incredibly useful for people like me who love books and learning but are busy. Blinkist takes the best and most popular nonfiction books and condenses them into 15-minute audiobooks. I'm sure that if you're like me, you have a very long list of books that you've been meaning to read. You only have so many hours in the day, and that's why Blinkist is so amazing. They take the most important information, the themes, the insights from each book, and they distill it into a 15-minute audiobook that you can listen to in one sitting. I've listened to a ton of books on Blinkist. Our audience can get a 7-day free trial by going to Blinkist.com/Pakman. If you're watching on YouTube, I put a link in the description. I have listened to Blinkist books about economics, about political science, about history, about science, so many interesting things. And after the free trial, if you like it, you can continue enjoying thousands of condensed audiobooks for about $5 a month. Go to Blinkist.com/Pakman. That's BLINKIST.com/PAKMAN.